Hey Sunrise, it's here with your small group questions for this week as we dive into Romans 13 verses 5 through 7. So of course, the first thing that comes to mind is how does 5 through 7 connect back to verses 1 through 4 as we look at this big topic of submission to governing authorities. So that's the first thought, and then it leads to the second one, is when we open verse 5, it has this idea that we do these things. We're subject to the authorities over us, not just to avoid the wrath of God, but for the sake of conscience. What does Paul mean here by for the sake of conscience? What is it that we are to be applying? What other parts of this text, thinking back a little bit, that we've read in Romans, how do these things affect us in our reading of the text, and how does it help us apply it better? And as you continue through, he then makes this appeal to how we're supposed to pay taxes and why we pay taxes. So very quickly, what is it about this text that helps us understand the reason we pay taxes? How does that connect to our relationship with God and man? So just some of those things as you think about it. How might a Christian in Paul's day have a hard time with this idea of paying taxes? Do you have a hard time with the idea of paying taxes today? What is our general attitude towards the idea of paying taxes? And do you struggle with it? And why? Why do those struggles exist? So continuing through it, verse 7 kind of gives us then this final summation of living this way. And it says this very clear: pay to all what is owed them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. So when we see this concluding verse, it kind of sums up the whole argument we've seen before. But what do each of these things teach us about how we interact with other people and how we have a good relationship with those around us? What is the point of verse 7? How does it connect it all together? Especially when we think about the idea of reverence and honor. How do these things tie together? So as you think about these things, allow them to marinate. As we come to worship on Sunday, we'll dive into the truth of these specific verses in 5 through 7. And then in your small groups, you're going to spend some time really, hopefully looking at these words and diving into the truth of how do we live this truth out? How do we see the gospel at play in this? Especially the idea of purchasing, buying back, paying what is owed. There are lots of other areas that we can think about as we apply this not just to financial transactions or our interaction with the government, but Christ and his payment, and how do we see these things play out? There's a lot that you can think about. I left it very open-ended there for you to really begin to work through. How does this text point us back to Christ and the cross and living out the faith well? Hope you spend some good time in this text, connected to all that we've looked at before in chapters 12 and 13 now, and even looking forward as we kick off in the following week, the conclusion to chapter 13, where we see once again this ethic of how to live out the faith well. Okay? Hope that you guys have a great week. See you on Sunday and in small groups this week.